Good evening and welcome to episode 5 of the 2019 Vegan Hour. Thank you for joining us. And tonight I am talking to Robyn Chuter from Empower Total Health. Welcome along, Robyn.
Thanks so much for inviting me, Harry.
That's my pleasure. We're going to have a really fantastic discussion tonight because Robyn knows so much about health, lifestyle, and just getting us up to speed and being able to be happier and healthier. So we're going to have a really interesting discussion tonight, and I hope that we have some good questions coming in as well.
Send your questions.
Send
please.
your questions in, guys,
Keep
because Robyn's going to be able to answer them. I've been having a great discussion with her before we went live, and yeah, she knows her shizzle. So now the Vegan Hour is presented, you can see in the background there, by vegan frothers who do cruelty-free clothing, and all the profits go to animal sanctuaries. So please support my sponsors, Vegan Frothers. Also, Seth's Vegan home-delivered pies. Now that you're living on the Gold Coast, you can get...
I have not tried this.
You have got to get in there and try
what
that.
What have I been missing out on?
You just, well, go and order some and find out, okay?
Right, not for
unfortunately, we haven't got any tonight to share with you. So
Darn.
Bugger. And Vegan Frothers, Seth's Vegan Pies, and also Symbian Natural Food Products, which are natural and which you can get in Coles and Woolies Australia-wide. So let's just have a quick look also at some of the events coming up this week and on the weekend before we get the Tonight Show underway. So tomorrow, if you're on the Gold Coast and if you love really good vegan food, there's BKA Vegan, which has become one of my favourite vegan restaurants in Burleigh here. Have you?
You're spoiled for choice here, though, aren't you?
Are we sport?
Compared to Sydney,
yes,
this is just paradise.
It is. I mean, you've been here what, 2 months?
2 months.
Yeah,
yes.
and this is much better.
Oh,
yeah.
in terms of just sheer availability, and so many places having vegan menus or places
yes.
that are all vegan.
It's
just brilliant. I'm loving it.
It's the only reason I stay here.
I'm loving it.
Robyn's loving it. So tomorrow night, Wednesday night, 20th of March, BKA Vegan, they're calling it a bowling night. It starts from 5 p.m. and you can get burger bowls, curry bowls, Mexican bowls, all for only $12.
I get it.
You get it?
It's not like bowling.
It's not like bowling. They're not going to be bowling through the place. So go. I may even be there because it's hard to keep me away from good vegan food. Also, this Saturday, a couple of events coming up. My group, Vegan Life, with close to 1,000 members, is having our monthly Vegan Luck in the Park. We're actually going to be at Ashmore Botanical Gardens, which are absolutely beautiful. So you can come along, you can bring vegan food to share. That's from 12 noon, so that's this Saturday, the 23rd of March. But also, this Saturday is the New South Wales elections, and the Animal Justice Party needs your support. So you can actually go along as a volunteer and support, hand out the how to vote cards at the polling booths. So look for the Animal Justice Party representative in your area and volunteer. Go along and help them because you'll be helping the animals. So that's this Saturday. Yeah.
Good to see the AJP is on the rise.
It is. Yeah. Actually, coming up, I'll be interviewing some more in future episodes this year. I'll be interviewing some more AJP candidates as I have done in the past. So that'll be coming up in the near future. Anyway, that's all the formalities out of the road. I can see we've got a few people who've come on there and are watching, so that's great. Thanks, guys. If you missed the introduction, I've got Robyn Chuter from Empower Total Health, and just to sort of give a little bit of a foundation of who Robyn is. Robyn is actually a nutritionist, counsellor, and certified lifestyle medicine practitioner. And you have been vegetarian since the age of 15.
Yes.
And you've also been vegan for the last 14 years. Which is fantastic.
Yes.
And apart from that, it's obvious that talking to Robyn tonight before we went live that she has an incredible knowledge when it comes to health and lifestyle. She integrates it all together, hence the term integrative medicine, I guess. Is there a
slightly
term?
different from lifestyle medicine.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we'll stick with she integrates the lifestyle medicine together. See, I don't know what I'm talking about. Anyway, that's enough from me. Robyn, I want to find out. I want you to just tell us a little bit more about yourself and this whole sort of interest that you have in helping people and how you've been able to help people and all that. I'll give you the floor. You take it anywhere you want. But basically, can you start us with why you went vegetarian at 15, because I think that's an important start.
Yeah. So I had always thought of myself as an animal lover when I was a kid. I mean, I think most children just intrinsically relate to animals, and I can actually remember the moment.
Yeah.
I was in my bedroom. I was 15 years old, and if memory serves me correctly, this bit may be a little bit fuzzy, but I know I was a youth member of the RSPCA.
Oh, okay.
And they had this magazine. I don't know if it's still around. It was called Wagley.
Oh.
And I was reading the magazine. Now, as you know, the RSPCA is not exactly a pro-vegan organisation. They do some good work, and I won't knock them.
There are areas that they do good work in.
Yes, but there are some gaps there. And so it wasn't that they were pushing some vegan message, right? It's just I'm flicking through this magazine and thinking, I'm such an animal lover, you know, like. And then it suddenly occurred to me, wait a minute, there are animals that I eat. Like, how does that work? How do you call yourself an animal lover if you like love the dogs and the pet mice and the cats and the birds and all the rest of it, but you eat cows? And it
just clicked.
It just clicked.
Just in a moment, like that clicked.
It was just a moment. Like there was no conversation.
Yeah.
There was no. It was just suddenly it occurred to me that I was a giant whopping hypocrite.
Wow.
And that there was really only one way to resolve that sense of just, you know, moral discomfort that had suddenly hit me, and that was to stop sticking my fork in the rear end of animals. Now, I wish I could say that it was instantaneous from that point.
Right, yeah.
But it wasn't. I still liked the taste of meat back in the day.
Okay. So you were conditioned at that point, obviously.
Oh, I was seriously conditioned.
Yes.
I was. And so, you know, I'd smell it cooking, and I'd waver.
Yeah.
And so just over the course of several months though, I gradually just ate less and less and less, and then I never said anything to my parents, right? But eventually they noticed that the dog was hanging around me an awful lot at dinner time, and so I was like cutting up the meat, feeding the dog. And when my mum realised, I think my daughter's only eaten, you know, potatoes and peas and broccoli for the last couple of weeks. Maybe we should kind of ask about this. And I said, actually, Mum, I'm vegetarian. And to her,
was there a stunned silence?
Well, to her eternal credit, she didn't have a flip out, and her parents were actually both Seventh-day Adventists. And so her grandfather was a lifelong. My mum's parents were Seventh-day Adventists.
So they had been vegetarians.
Well, her mother had not. She sort of stayed within the church, but she left that teaching. But my grandfather, who actually died before I was born, I never met him, but he was vegetarian his whole life. He was like a bicycle riding, non-smoking, non-drinking vegetarian Seventh-day Adventist who, if he hadn't been killed in a car accident, would probably still be with us.
Yeah.
So it didn't really faze her, and she just went, oh, okay, well, vegetarian, and we'll just buy your sanitarian products then. And so,
which coincidentally is a Seventh-day Adventist or was company.
Absolutely,
yes.
And so it was all you know. Back in those days, it was Nuttolene, the stuff that looked a lot like Pal.
Oh my God! Oh, actually, you are bringing back not particularly
bad
good memories. You'd open the can and go, oh. That doesn't smell the best. And then you try it. It was, that's right, it was grey, and it was just like...
And rubbery.
What was, anyone know what Nuttolene was made from? What was it made
peanuts. It was actually peanut protein. Go figure.
Was it peanuts?
I don't know how they made it look like Pal, but...
They really did. That's the best description I've heard of Nuttolene. I've had to have therapy to get away from remembering it.
I've just re-traumatized you. I apologise. I'm sorry. The other one they had was nut meat, which was... It was better.
That was edible.
Yeah. Yeah,
Nuttolene was like you had it once a year if it was bad, but nut meat you could actually eat it weekly if you had to.
Yeah. So I kind of lived on that, and I mean I didn't get the whole dairy and egg thing at the time. That was not on my radar. And I mean, this was 1986, 87 when I was making my transition. And so, you know, obviously there was no internet. The number of books was pretty limited.
It's true.
Back in the day, you had to go to a library. Yes, kiddies, we had to go to libraries. I know, right?
For anyone under the age of 100 watching, you might know what that is, but, you know.
They had card catalogues.
I know. I still wonder what we did before the internet, but that's what we did, folks.
That's what we did.
That's what we did.
So there was just, what I'm saying is there's very limited information.
Yes, it was.
And so I didn't understand that the dairy industry was probably ethically even worse than certainly the beef cattle industry, like on par with factory farm piggeries and so forth. So I stayed with the eggs and the dairy, and I'll compress the next part of the story. It involves my dad being diagnosed with multiple lifestyle-related illnesses,
that's sad.
Gastroesophageal reflux disease, gallstones. Eventually, I think I was in my late teens when he was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, and he ended up on insulin and just in really, really bad shape. So I must say, I did vegetarianism spectacularly badly, as I've mentioned. So I kind of...
Lots of sanitarian products.
And not that much in the way of fruit and veg.
Right.
So I gained weight, which is that, like, what's that about? Vegetarian,
how could you?
Weight.
Yes.
And my skin was terrible, which I now know is the dairy.
Right. Yes.
And my... Can we talk constipation? I mean, is that okay?
Yeah, well, we can. I mean, we're a mature audience, aren't we?
It was just bad. I actually ended up in the emergency room at the local hospital one time with what they suspected was an ectopic pregnancy, and I'm like, don't you have to have actually had sex for that?
Unless it's divine intervention.
Well, I didn't think I qualified for immaculate conception.
That's what I was trying to think of. Yeah, immaculate conception.
But anyway, so it turned out that I was just really horrendously constipated.
Wow.
I mean, so sorry, too much information.
No, but it's actually relevant because I know a lot of vegetarians, and I've seen over the years some very, very unhealthy vegetarians.
Oh, heck yeah. Well, I was one of them, 100%.
Yeah.
So between my own health challenges... Sorry, go on.
Well, when you went vegetarian, did you actually maybe, because you cut out the meat, did you replace it with more dairy?
Yeah, definitely. I was eating more dairy and more eggs, and that was partly my parents going, where will she get her protein? Because, I mean, that was still a question back then. It's not just now that everyone's driving you bonkers with that question, folks. That was the question back then.
It was.
So I probably ate more dairy and probably more eggs, I would say, as well. There were severely vegetarian quiches were another bit of a staple food. Cringe.
Yeah.
And so my health was going downhill. My dad was diagnosed with these lifestyle diseases, and there was a series of events which I won't bore your audience with, but eventually I ended up enrolling in naturopathic college. So I was 19.
That's cool.
And my very first nutrition lecture was a game changer, because the lecturer, like normally when you study nutrition in these colleges, it's not the nutrition that you would think it is. Like, it's not really about food. It's about individual nutrients. It's a very reductionist model. Vitamins, minerals, supplement this and powder that and whatever the hell.
Right.
But my first lecturer was from the natural hygiene school. And so when he taught nutrition, he spoke about food.
Interesting.
Oh, it was.
Yes,
it was. And so he blew my mind. Like, I was riveted. And from that first lecture, I realised I'd been doing my vegetarian diet so badly wrong.
Yeah. So he spoke about food in a way that was actually correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
Good.
And so he was talking about nutrition as in food patterns, right, as opposed to individual nutrients. And he also took it out beyond just the food. He emphasized the role of exercise and rest and sleep in terms of ensuring that we're properly nourished, because a body that moves more utilizes food better. So that was just fantastic. That was my groundwork. And from then on, I mean, naturopathy is very much pills and potions, right? And I'm not going to say there's no value in that. I do still prescribe herbal medicines at times. I'm not against nutritional supplements when there's a clear indication from them, but it cannot be the basis of health recovery. It cannot be.
Okay.
Because no one ever got sick from a deficiency of echinacea. Right.
That's an interesting statement, and it would make a good meme.
Does anyone want to meme that? Yeah. So the reason that you get sick is not because you didn't, you had a deficiency of homeopathic remedies, or you didn't have the right bark flower remedy, or whatever the heck, right? The reason you got sick is because of the way the way that you've been living, and also the exposures that you have, some of which are beyond your control.
Yeah, as in environmental toxins or something. Maybe.
That's it. Yes. That's it. And even things like noise pollution and light pollution.
Again,
don't even really
which
think of.
sort of fits into the environmental aspect of it. To some extent.
Totally. So we get sick for reasons. If we want to get well again, we need to understand why we got sick in the first place.
Yeah. Is that difficult discern or investigate sometimes?
It's not always possible to pin down exact causes for things, but I do. I mean, when I see clients, I do a really detailed history. In fact, there's a form they fill in before I even see them.
Good.
So, because I want to know the background,
Yes.
and I can usually piece the story together as to how they got in the mess they're in now.
Yeah.
And you know, sometimes it has to be said. It goes right back to in the womb. Like if your mum was smoking when she was pregnant with you. Or even if she was doing her best to live a healthy life, but she got an infection and then she had antibiotics when in late pregnancy. Look, that affects people.
Wow.
And you can end up with lifelong consequences from that. Wow. And a lot of those are improvable, not always completely solvable.
Okay, but there's an interesting thought that's occurred to me there. That's something that's sort of out of a person's control, isn't it?
Yes.
So really, I mean, how do you address something that's out of your control? Because it's not, you couldn't really call it a lifestyle thing in that you lived your life that way. This is something that was happening, you know, prior to your birth.
Yes,
so
sometimes even prior to your conception. Yeah.
Wow.
So that's where you know sometimes supplements carefully chosen can actually help a person like that, or like in that particular case, you know, probiotics and that sort of thing.
What about dealing with? I don't know if it'd be the right way of saying it, but what about dealing with the psychological side of it? It's like, okay, I had no control over this. How do I now accept the fact that I couldn't have done anything about it?
And just a side note on that too is that some people have to work a lot harder to be healthy.
Yes.
And that's just a reality. Some people are very genetically gifted. Some people have just had an extraordinarily good start.
Yes.
And they can get away with a heck of a lot of self-abuse.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen...
everyone's got a great Uncle Harry, right? You know great Uncle Harry?
And it's not me.
Drank a bottle of Jim... Not this Harry.
Not this Harry. No.
Drank a bottle of Jim Beam a day, smoked a pack of Camels, ate bacon for breakfast, lunch and dinner, never got off the couch, and kicks on till 95. Now, he's not necessarily in great shape.
No,
but he's, you know, he manages to live a ludicrously long life despite, you know, really systematic self-abuse.
Yeah.
And then you get people who just put one foot off the path and you know, it's like God points the big finger at them and says, you screwed up, now you get punished.
It's your time.
And so that can be really psychologically hard for people to deal with because I have a lot of clients who, like I go through their food journal, it's darn near perfect. They meditate, they do yoga, right? And yet they're still sick. And that's it's just a bummer.
It almost, so what, it feels unfair for them, I guess.
Oh, yeah. Because it is.
Yes.
But I mean, here's the news, folks. Life is not fair. So, but yeah, I mean, and sorry if that sounded harsh, but it's seriously not.
Yes.
And so that's where you know sometimes like you just got to work through that psychological barrier that people have, where they sort of say, you know, oh Lord, why me? All my friends go out and you know drink and smoke and eat crap, and here's me eating health food and I'm still not well. Yep.
And then in addition to that, not only is the person trying to live their life healthily, but they've got their mates that are living their life haphazardly coming up and going, ha ha ha, pointing their finger, and you feel like you're up against it.
Yeah, look at you eating your chickpea salad.
Yeah.
And here's me, you know, smashing burgers and whatnot, and look at me, I'm fine. And yes, on the outside, eventually.
Who can relate to that? Who's personally experienced that, or knows somebody that's personally experienced it? I think myself, I can relate to that, you know, because then if you've had a really long vegan journey, you're likely to have come up against friends that are somehow defying the odds with living their life haphazardly and then tormenting you because you're such a saint.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's like, thanks, I really needed that, you know.
And so I mean, look, getting people to change. That's the hardest.
They have to want to change.
But yeah, it's very easy to explain how to eat for health. I mean, do you want to hear it? Eat fruits, vegetables, whole grains, legumes. If you don't have a weight problem or existing heart disease, include some nuts and seeds.
Right.
Get regular exercise, get to bed on time, cultivate healthy social relationships, and do something about, you know, the toxic voices in your head. There you go. Was that 30 seconds? That's what you need to do.
There it is.
Healthy.
Show's over. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, all right, bye. No, so it's a very simple message, but simple isn't easy. So to implement what we know to be true, that takes a lot of work.
It does. It does. And why? I already know the answer to this question, but why is it so difficult for some of us, or for a lot of us, to actually embrace that, to take that challenge on? Why is it so difficult?
I think it's really scary to take responsibility for your life. It's really scary to sort of grow up and be an adult and
you have to be in a lot of pain, don't you?
See, that's really interesting. That's a question that I'm absolutely intrigued by. Like, what is it that allows one person to change when they get a fairly minor nudge?
Right.
Right. So I've had people in my practice who didn't have anything really serious going on. Like maybe they had some hay fever that was pretty irritating. Yeah. Maybe a lot of them, it was like, you know, their mum got diagnosed with breast cancer, or their best friend from school had a heart attack, and they kind of went, whoa. But they didn't have major pain themselves, and they change. And then you get others who like they have really serious diagnoses. They've been told you've got 3 blocked coronary arteries and all this sort of stuff, and they're like, but bacon. And you kind of go, you choose bacon or life. Okay, so you choose bacon. What do I do? Like, that's your choice. You're an adult.
I mean, you can possibly lead the horse to water, but you can't make it drink.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. So, but I mean, it does fascinate me, and I've really come to the conclusion that what makes the difference between people, it isn't really the degree of suffering, because some people will cop extraordinary amounts of suffering and not change their course. It comes down to people's self-identity, whether they see themselves as number one, worthy of change. So for people who, I see a lot of people with a history of abuse.
Yes.
And the big problem with them is really feeling worthy of living in a healthy body. Whether that's like they're struggling with their weight and they don't believe they deserve to be slim, or they're just struggling with a lot of health issues, they put everyone else first. And and they don't, they feel guilty if they take care of themselves.
Yes. And I've known a few people that were very, very good at living their life that way, to the point where they got so sick that they actually had to, well, one person I think of had to actually withdraw from society and spend considerable amount of time getting her life back together.
Wow,
you know, because it's really like you get to the point where, well, if I can't go much longer, I'm going to kill myself.
Yes.
I just want to. Lisa says watching vegan documentaries like What the Hell turned me vegan overnight.
And before What the Health, it was Forks Over Knives.
Yes, I know.
Forks Over Knives brought so many people to see me.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, because they watched that and they said, "Oh my God, I'm in." But what do I eat?
Right. And isn't that fantastic? Because the statistics show that the catalyst for most people to improve their health and to look at veganism is documentaries and personal recommendations from friends and family.
Absolutely.
So,
those documentaries, they are so powerful. And I think also for those of you who are frustrated that, you know, your friends and family aren't listening, stop talking at them and just send them a link to a documentary, because they can't hear it from you.
Yes, they can't.
You know, your family, your friends,
right.
they can't, they're just like, it doesn't go in. But if you share a documentary, that's someone else talking to them, and they can often hear it. Not always, but more often.
Lisa also says, I want to prevent illness, not get sick, then try to fix it.
I'm with you, Lisa. 100%. It's so much better to prevent it.
Definitely. I mean, there's a wisdom in that, isn't there? But see, now, we sort of went off track a little bit because we were talking about your foundation, you know.
Sorry.
And which is fine. I mean, it's great. It's all part of who you are and how you help people, which is fantastic. And there was a very fascinating topic that we're talking about there about self-abuse and self-worthiness and that. And I want to explore that a bit more as well. We might come back to that because that is the psychology behind that I find interesting. And you would actually also, I think, be able to help a lot there because you're also a counsellor.
Yes. So I did my 4-year diploma of naturopathy. I started my practice in 1995 when I was 23, which kind of makes me laugh now because I don't know if I would have taken this seriously back then.
Isn't it funny when we think back? You know,
I probably looked like I was barely out of high school. You know, like who on earth listens to a 23-year-old?
I mean, you know, but you had great intentions and you wanted to.
I did,
and
I got good results from the get-go.
Great.
But I did realise, like about 2 years into practice, I realised, hang on a minute, I know about how people get sick. Like I know what causes that. I know what advice to give them to get well again, but it's not that simple, right? So there's something missing. And what was missing in my education in terms of naturopathy was like how to help people change. So I went I studied, I did a graduate diploma of counselling, which was another 2 years full-time, part-time, while I was practicing full-time.
Okay. Wow.
And that provided some of the pieces to the puzzle.
Right, good.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
But not as much as I wanted. Several years later, I stumbled across, actually it was after my daughter was born, it was some years later. Yeah. No, so sorry, I missed a bit. In the meantime, I went back to uni and did my Bachelor of Health Science, again, studying part-time while working full-time. In the midst of that, I fell pregnant with my son.
because she wasn't already doing enough.
That's right. I just didn't have enough plates spinning. I thought I'd throw a few more.
Let's have some kids as well.
Throw some kids into the mix. And then I gave birth to my daughter 2 weeks after I did my final exam.
in health science.
In health science.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. And then came EFT and matrix reimprinting. Then I went back to uni and did my honours degree at Edith Cowan.
Wow, so you've done EFT as well?
Yes, which is the most amazing tool for change.
Yes.
I absolutely
I must get back into it because I was doing it like religiously years ago when I first heard of it and just drifted out of it.
I
used to always do that.
Such a potent
I was always doing the tapping.
Yeah. And like if you've got blocks to change, that is one of the best ways to move through those blocks. If you've got trauma, matrix reimprinting is just it's a gift.
I just must do a shout out to Adam Guthrie from I Feel Good magazine who is watching. Thank you for watching.
Hello, Adam.
You know Adam?
Yeah, Adam and I are friends.
Great, yes, good bloke.
Go back a long time.
Good bloke. And actually Damien Turner from, he's from Garden of Vegan and also from Vegan Isle is watching as well. Thanks for watching, Damien. But Adam actually did a workshop, a plant-based cooking workshop last Tuesday of last week
I was
at
in
BKA
Sydney
Vegan.
that night, or I would have gone for sure.
And it had a good attendance. I think about 19 people went along with it. So good on you, Adam.
Veganising the world.
Yeah, veganising the world, and it's happening. It's
one recipe at a time.
That's the way to do it.
How we do it.
It's one very good, effective way to do it.
I agree.
Yeah. So so. I'm thinking of all the qualifications you've got from health science to EFT to counsellor to nutritionist. And do we add in there lifestyle medicine practitioner as well?
Well, that was my. So let me see.
Because you didn't have enough.
No, I'd submitted my thesis. No, that's right. I was in the final throes of editing my thesis for the honours degree. And I noticed that the Australasian Society of Lifestyle Medicine were running exams for the very first certification of lifestyle medicine practitioners in Australia.
Okay.
So I signed up for that. I got my thesis in and I had 4 weeks to study the lifestyle medicine curriculum and pass.
That should have been easy for you.
It's like the worst exam I've ever sat in my life. It was just murderous.
Really?
So I walked out of there going, oh my God. And then I was like, it was the first exam I've ever walked out of thinking, I think I might have failed.
Oh.
And so I was like on the edge of my seat. Next month or so.
But obviously you hadn't.
I passed.
You passed. Of course you passed.
Yeah, so I was in the first cohort of Australian practitioners who, this is an international qualification. It's board certification is not a term that's used a lot in Australia. It's more of a US term, but it's starting to creep over here. So it basically means you've gone through the curriculum, you've sat this monster exam, and you're now certified as a lifestyle medicine practitioner with these certain areas of competency in terms of helping people make change in their diet, getting their sleep sorted out, coaching them to start physical activity or round out their program if they're already doing it. Did I mention sleep? Yeah, dealing with their sleep issues. And then helping them with build just meaningful social connections and just deal with those blocks and barriers to change. Yeah.
So all of these areas of expertise of yours, they all come into play when if I come to you and I say, I don't know, I'm having some issue. I can't think of any because, you know, I'm Harry, I don't have any issues.
But he has no issues.
I have no issues. Oh, hang on. I'll come to you and I say, look, all my hair's falling out.
Yeah.
What can I do there? Yeah, I found one.
Yeah, like, I probably can't help you there. I gotta be honest.
No. You'll say something like, stop shaving it every day. And I'll go, that might be it.
Deal with the cause.
Deal with the cause, that's right. But talking to you before we went live, one of the things that became obvious is that you're looking at the behind the scenes of how a person's got to where they are now, right?
Yeah.
Because
Exactly.
originally when you came from that naturopathic standpoint, it really wasn't getting to it, was it?
No, it really wasn't.
And then adding in counselling, as you were saying, adding in counselling was giving a bit more understanding to where the person's coming from. But really, you've added in a whole heap of different areas there where you can sort of go, okay, I can see fairly clearly where you're coming from, and I can help you.
Yes.
If you want to be helped.
Yes. If you are willing to, because I mean, look,
Willing to do the work.
The practice of lifestyle medicine is very different to regular medicine, where it's like doctor up here, patient down there. Doctor says to patient, you must take this medicine, and you must do this, and you must do that. With lifestyle medicine, like your peers.
Good.
It's much more of a sort of collaborative relationship.
Yeah, you're meeting them at the same level.
Yeah. So you know, my part is to provide the knowledge of how they got into the state that they're in, whether it's their rheumatoid arthritis, or their high blood pressure, or their diabetes, or their acne, you know, whatever it is.
Yeah.
My job is to explain the causes of that, and then figure out with them, okay, so how do we address each of these areas of your lifestyle that have contributed to this? But it's not me saying you will do this. It's us working collaboratively on a plan, and then me coaching you to implement that plan. And then, you know, when there are blocks to implementation, it's not, oh, you messed up, you know, you're sacked now. It's, all right, let's sit down and figure out, you know, what was the hurdle that you couldn't make it over, you know?
Right.
and let's figure out how to get you over that.
That's very supportive, isn't it? And and in that support, the person feels empowered, hence
Empower total health.
Total health. Yes.
That's it. Big
Funny how that comes together, isn't it? Yeah. So that's good because we're educating the person, we're encouraging them. These are, and this doesn't just apply, does it? In your this should be how we live our lives in our connection with people day to day.
Yeah.
In everything, in every connection we have.
And that,
isn't it?
look, a big thing that I've noticed is that when people reach that point where they start taking charge of their lives, okay, that's the first project, but then they start making better and more empowered decisions in every area of life. So they start drawing boundaries with toxic relationships. They quit that job where they're being exploited or abused. They get up the courage to start that business.
They feel their worth. This goes back to what we were talking about earlier.
100%.
Yes.
So it's like taking charge of your physical health. It's almost like it's that first portal to self-development, and then there's a ripple effect beyond that. So people just, they don't just get physically healthier, they get socially and emotionally and psychologically healthier.
They become better people around. They become better for society as well, better with their family, the whole thing. I mean,
and I think also, from a vegan point of view, what I've seen so often is that, people who come to me who really don't have any kind of moral qualms about eating animals, like they've come to me for their health issue. Yeah. But once they start eating plant-based, doors open in their mind. Yes. And I guess I've got two explanations for this. Actually, Adam and I were chatting about this the other day. Yeah. On one level, you might, if you want to take the more spiritual level straight up, right? I think there's something to just not having dead animals in your body. It just opens up some channels.
Definitely. It automatically does it. Yeah.
But the other thing is that people have been brainwashed into thinking that eating animals is, I'll borrow Melanie Joy's terminology, normal, natural and necessary. Right. And so there's kind of like a shutting down on any messages that might come in that make them feel
that contradict that. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And then once they realise, oh, hang on a minute, I actually don't need to eat meat or dairy or eggs or whatever. I'd be perfectly healthy without them. In fact, I can be healthier. Yes. Then it's like, oh, now they can let in all of those thoughts about this is the way we treat animals. This is what we're doing to the planet. Right. So I was participating in that before, and I didn't want to know about it. I didn't want to know about the harm I was doing because you know, there are some people who will go vegan and they'll say, even if it's not good for my health, I'll do it for the animals. But most people won't.
Yeah, that's true.
Reality check. Most people
So
won't.
that's what you've noticed, that most people won't. Yeah. Is that because, in your opinion, do you feel that's because most people are inherently
self-interested? Yeah.
Yeah, or self-interested. Yeah.
And look, let's be realistic about this. That's how we survived as a species.
Yeah.
You know, by having self-interest.
Yeah. Unfortunately, society has swung so far into the selfish, selfie generation or whatever that it's just
it. When we were a not terribly numerous species. Right, because the human population has exploded just beyond all imagination in the last couple of centuries. When we were a not very popular species, we could get away with being flagrantly self-interested, but there were so few of us that we weren't doing that much harm.
Right.
Now there's 7 billion of us, and our self-interest is choking the planet, you know, causing, I mean, we were just looking at your Facebook feed before about that dolphin species, like 10 individuals left.
Yeah.
You know, and that's
the
us.
sort of thing. Yeah, that's
what
right.
we're doing.
It's what we're doing, and it's as you say, with the dolphins or with so many different areas that our selfishness is destroying.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just
and then ultimately it rebounds on us.
It does, doesn't it?
And
we're digging our own graves
with our knives and forks. Yes.
Yeah, said, with our knives and forks.
You like that one?
That is fantastic.
That's
That's
a meme.
a keeper. That's a meme. We're digging our own graves with our knives and forks. Quick, somebody write that down. Mike says, interesting, not sure of the topic as I came in late, but I have significantly increased my food intake the last 3 weeks and I'm spiking on my brain energy levels. Very weird. I guess that means...
I'm not sure what
Mike is spiking. Mike is spiking. That should be another one. Mike, do you mean that you really experience a positive boost in your brain energy levels? Because that's how I take it, I think. So Mike, if you
I presume so.
Yeah, if you want to come back to us on that.
Yeah.
Okay, so the psychology of change, and actually, what is it? You deal with behaviour change or habit change. It's the same habit change.
Look, I mean, behaviour is habit. When you're talking about health-related behaviours, they're habits. People have bad habits that are keeping them sick. They need to drop those and cultivate good habits that are keeping them well. And habit is infinitely more powerful than willpower. Forget about willpower.
Right.
Forget about sort of relying on willpower.
Yes.
What you want to do is habitualize your health promoting behaviors so that willpower actually becomes redundant. You're not exercising it, well, barely at all, because you're in such a strong habit groove that it wouldn't occur to you to not exercise or not meditate or not eat a salad for lunch.
So I've got 2 questions based on that. One is, I guess you've seen examples of people where they have all the willpower and the good intention and they're like, yeah, I'm going to do this, and it lasts a couple of months or something, right?
A couple of weeks.
Oh, a couple of weeks. I see it on Facebook all the time. You know, this is my new regime. It's like, okay, I'm sorry guys, but you know, I've seen it so many times. You know, good luck, because you're dealing against habitual habits that are going to, your willpower is not going to be able to compete against. So that's the first thing.
Yep.
So the second thing is then, how do you reach that point where you re-educate your habits or you know, so that willpower is not a factor. So the habits are now new, healthier habits.
Yeah.
How do you get to
so
that
if
point?
you break down the structure of a habit, it's got 3 components. So I don't care whether we're talking about, you know, the habit of smoking, the habit of exercise, like any habit you want to talk about.
So it could be a good habit or a bad habit.
Could be a good habit or a bad habit, but there are 3 elements to it. There's a cue, there's a behavioural sequence, and there's a reward.
Of course.
So,
yes.
So, okay, you take smoking. The cue for smoking might be that it's lunch break, or you know, because I spend such a lot of time on aeroplanes now, commuting back and forth between Sydney and here. One of the cues for a smoker is you get off the plane, you get through the terminal, you haven't had a ciggy for hours.
You're starting to get a bit jittery.
Yeah, you get out the front door, and then you see a bunch of people going, and then you go, and like you're reaching for your smokes, right? So that's a cue. The behavioural sequence, okay, it's pretty obvious, right? Pull out your cigarette, light it up, breathe deep. The reward, again, very obvious. Nicotine, this is not an advertisement for smoking. Smoking is very bad for your health, kids. Don't do it.
If you don't know that by now.
I don't know what you think. But when nicotine hits your brain, man, you know, there are some very powerful neurotransmitter ding-ding-dings that go off when nicotine hits the brain. So you are very rewarding.
So you are getting a high, you're getting a hit.
Yeah, right. Totally. Yes. Totally.
As somebody who's never smoked or taken any drugs,
yeah.
I still don't really understand that, but I understand what you're saying. But I've never experienced
because I mean, for most people, when they smoke their first cigarette, it's fully disgusting, right?
Yes,
I mean, it burns your lungs, it tastes revolting, you stink of it. But that nicotine, you know, that's powerful stuff on the brain.
Is that a? I want to get to some comments here, but I also want to ask you a question about that. So we've got two things happening at once here. Mike is replying to
getting high.
Getting high.
Is that like a legal high?
He's getting a legal high on fruit intake, and you would have come across that. I've come across that where people actually feel such incredible, especially coming from a level where you've been like, it's like you've had a nail in your foot the whole time. You just pulled the nail out, and suddenly you're like, oh my God, the relief. So,
I know, right? Like people get so used to a really substandard level of health.
Yes.
They literally do not know how good they can feel.
Yes.
And then when they switch to a healthy plant-based diet, it's like they feel better than they have since they were kids, or like even, you know, sometimes they don't even remember feeling that good when they were a kid.
And that would be like a high, as Mike is explaining here. He's increased his fruit intake.
Yeah.
Suddenly, you know, you've got the good stuff going in there.
You've got the good stuff going in. It's also squeezing out the bad stuff, right? So I don't know what Mike was eating before, but if he's kind of swapped out something not terribly healthy for fruit, he's gonna be on fire. You know?
Yeah. So that's the only way to get high. That's fantastic. High on life, high on fruit. Isn't it? And isn't it fantastic that nature's ultimate fast food, which is fruit, can have that effect? I love it. You know, and whereas compare that to, you know, what we're talking about with cigarettes and people having such a dull level of health that they have to have something that is so incredibly unhealthy to try and get an unnatural high that they're paying to kill themselves with. I was thinking about the other day, it just came in my head again because I know quite a number, sadly, I have a lot of friends that smoke, sadly, and it still goes through when I'm aware that they're smoking, it goes through my head and I'm thinking, there is no logic to what you're doing. It is so destructive. And they know it. And one of my friends quit smoking, right? And the money he saved, which is about $100 a week, he has bought a new $40,000 car with that money on a loan. It's like fantastic. That is great. That's logical to me. But so, okay, most people, when I talk to them about, when you talk to people about an addiction, because that's an addiction, right? An unhealthy addiction.
Absolutely. Yep.
At some level, don't they know that they're not happy with it? Is that right to say? At some
100%.
Level, right?
But look, I mean, and you raise a really important point, right? Because these substances of addiction, like nicotine, but I would also this is also true of hyperpalatable foods. Okay. So you know the foods that are really high in sugar, the foods that are high in fat, particularly the foods that are high in sugar and fat. And if you throw salt in, it's like the perfect storm. Yeah. So these have a drug-like effect on the brain.
That's why I love them.
Yeah. They don't love you back. I'm sorry, it's unrequited love.
Yes.
They're going to break your heart.
Damn it.
It sucks, eh? But, you know, we have, you know, obviously our brains are set up to reward us when we eat because it's basic survival behaviour.
Yes.
But that reward system is sort of calibrated to caloric density. So, like, and 100,000 years ago, it made perfect sense, right? Yeah. So, you know, Stone Age grog his brain was going to give him a lot more kind of, you know, brain doggy biscuits for eating something calorie dense. So, you know, for example, if Grug was stuck with eating leaves a lot of the time, well, you get a little bit of dopamine from eating leaves. Right. But if you find some ripe fruit, that's more calorie dense. Yep. So Grug's brain goes, good job, Grug. You know, nice big jolt of dopamine there. But if Grug finds something even more calorie dense, his brain goes, hit the jackpot, buddy, right? And it locks it in. Right. So Grug remembers where calorie dense food source was,
Yeah.
because his brain just gave him such a hit
Wow.
for that. And so he's now going to remember that. He's also going to remember how good it felt to consume that thing. Great for Grug, right?
Yeah.
Grug lives through the next food shortage because Grug's brain is really tuned to finding calorie dense food. Not great for modern day Harry or Robyn or anyone else, because the calorie dense food is everywhere. And then there's the booze and the smokes and the, you know, somewhat less legal stuff, and you know where I'm going with this. So it's like our brains fool us. Our brains fool us into thinking that the bad things that we're doing are actually good.
So going back to somebody with a destructive habit like smoking, is it the addiction to it? Is it psychological? Is it chemical?
It's both.
It's a combination.
It's definitely both.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, in the case of nicotine, it's very, very straightforward. That stuff is chemically addictive. But more to the point, it's like that person has learned to use cigarettes as a crutch.
As a crutch,
and so when they're socially anxious, when they're upset, when they're angry, they're going to have a smoke, which means they don't learn any other strategies.
That's right. They don't face. They keep running from.
And I would say, like, if you're thinking about rewards, there's some fairly basic, and I'm talking about rewards on a brain level here, right? So there are some fairly basic things that we get rewarded for. We get rewarded by our brains, I mean, for behaviours that perpetuate our lives and perpetuate the species. So biologists call them the two Fs. One is feeding, and the other thing starts with F.
Fruit?
Yeah, that's what he said. So feeding keeps you alive, and the other thing that starts with F keeps the species alive. So it makes sense that organisms' brains would reward them for these behaviours. But the other thing that we get a big old brain reward for, especially us humans, is meaningful social connection. That really lights up the human brain. So that smoker, when they're socially anxious and they don't know how to interact, right, and they go and have a puff of a cigarette, they get that false high from the nicotine, and they don't learn how to get the real high from the genuine, meaningful social connection.
So does that mean that they don't genuinely connect?
They have a lot of trouble with it. It's what drives. I'm not going to universalise, but I've spoken to plenty of smokers, and most of them say, I started smoking because I was socially anxious. Yeah.
And also, I'm thinking that alcohol comes in there as well, doesn't it?
How many people do you know who can't go to a party without getting a skinful first?
Yes, Dutch courage.
Yeah, that's it.
Yes,
that's it.
And actually, as a non-drinker myself, I'm still becoming aware of just how prevalent that is.
Man,
even today, even decades and decades and decades of knowing people that drink, I never realised just how prevalent it was for people to have to do it in order to be able to go out and socialise or whatever. It's like, wow, really?
Yeah, and of course it's illusory because I mean, how much meaningful social connection can you make when you're?
So really, you're again with the cigarettes, you're not really connecting. You're sort of it's having the opposite effect.
It's having the opposite effect. You think that you're the life of the party. You think you're the funniest thing ever, and everyone else is going.
Meanwhile, you're destroying your health. You're actually destroying your psychological health too, I guess. And it's creating a situation which again is pushing you further and further away from that connection.
From the real foundations of health.
From the real foundations of health. Mike says, I have restricted all carbs, eating 80% fruit for the last 3 weeks. I have now a very high mental energy and need to be careful on when I eat. Example, eating fruit at 9 p.m. I cannot sleep.
Okay, I wouldn't be eating at 9 p.m.
That is, I mean, that is very late.
Let that old digestive tract have a nice rest before you get to sleep. Even fruit, which is pretty rapidly digesting. So there's something to keep in mind, Mike. So what would you recommend there to eat at like 6 p.m. or something maybe? I'm a pretty big fan of leaving a good 3 hours between your last bite and when you go to sleep.
Unless Mike's going to sleep at midnight or something.
Well, I hope he isn't, because that's way out of whack with his circadian rhythm.
That's another thing, isn't it? Yes,
it's
because
huge.
Sleep is another thing that's very, very, you work with that, don't you?
Oh my goodness me. Sleep is like, that's that's the great untapped frontier in terms of health improvement. People do not get enough sleep.
What's with society where there's a big bravado of like, oh, I went on 3 hours sleep last night. This came up in one of a recent Vegan Hour episodes with a guest, and the same thing. It was just like, I've noticed it's a real prevalent thing.
Oh yeah, it's I don't know. It's supposed to be a sign of your
like it's exactly, and it's the whole way that we've got things backwards, isn't it?
We've totally got it backwards.
It's like I would rather come to work or something and say, hey, I had 9 hours sleep last night. It's like that's what I want to boast about.
100%, yes. Most people are not getting nearly the quality or quantity of sleep that they really need to thrive.
And you can't even talk to them until they've had a coffee or two in the morning.
That's right. You don't want to talk to them. They're really grumpy. And the knock-on effect of that, of course, is they are using caffeine and then they're craving carbohydrates. And there's very, very clear evidence that if you deprive a person of sleep, or you interrupt their sleep, or you restrict their sleep for just one night, they'll eat about 400 or 500 extra calories the following day.
For just one night?
Just one night, yep. Just one night of restricted
sleep.
So
the flow-on effect is they're going to be putting on weight, obviously.
They're going to be putting on weight. They're going to be eating just really crappy food because that's what their body sort of drives them to eat as a stimulant, essentially.
They're going to develop a caffeine addiction.
Yeah, and then of course they're too tired to exercise, right? So the thing that would actually get you better quality of sleep, which is get more physically active during the day, they're too tired to do.
Yeah.
Because their circadian rhythm is so stuffed, for want of a more technical term.
Right. Yeah, and sadly, we all know a lot of people that fit into that category. But and even if somebody watching tonight fits into that category, Robyn is able to help you with Empowered Total Health and look at your whole life. Your whole lifestyle, basically.
Yeah, that's it. And of course, because there are so many components to lifestyle medicine, it's not really possible to address them all at once. No. So I like to look for the point of highest leverage, and because sometimes people say, "Oh, look, I know what I need to do is get more active," but I take a look at their life and say, "Actually, you need to get to bed earlier. Let's focus on that first, and then you'll actually have the energy to get up earlier in the morning and be more active." But if we try to get you out of bed to exercise when you've had 4 hours sleep, this is not going to end well.
No, you're going to stress the body to the point where it's going to create...
You're going to get sick, you're going to have an injury, you're going to have an accident, you'll set yourself so far back. In
fact, talking about that, I noticed that you've actually achieved, you've reversed chronic medically incurable conditions.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the things I've got down here: type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, rheumatoid arthritis, Crohn's disease.
Oh man, and these are diseases that once you're diagnosed with them, the medical route is basically, okay, you're going to take these drugs, you're going to take them every day for the rest of your life. Eventually, some or all of them will stop working. We'll have to give you higher dosages. We'll have to add extra drugs, and so I've seen, I think one guy who was on. Okay, let me get this straight. He was on 3 drugs for his blood pressure. He was on 3 for his rheumatoid arthritis. He was on a cholesterol lowering drug. Gee, I'm missing one out. There was another one too. I know he was on 9.
It's sad.
And in the space of 6 months, he got off all of them.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Turned the rheumatoid arthritis around, became non-diabetic. Like his endocrinologist said, okay, I'm discharging you. Like maybe come see me in a year if you're bored, but I just don't need to see you anymore.
Fantastic. Yeah. And I mean that's empowering for you to be able to help people like that.
Best job in the world.
But definitely, have to be, definitely. But also, you're giving life to a life. You're giving them their life back.
And it is just such a miserable existence. People unless they have psychological issues that I can't even begin to describe, they don't want to swallow a handful of pills every day.
Yes.
No one really wants to do that.
How does I want to touch on that as well, the psychological issues. If somebody presents to you with psychological issues, how effective can you be in helping them in that area?
Well, I mean, to start at the broadest level again, if a person's not sleeping well, I mean, are you a happy camper when you haven't slept well? Like, how's your mood? You get a little irritable, a little tetchy?
You won't see me doing a live stream when I haven't slept well.
So, if you start at that very basic level, just getting people to sleep more soundly and longer often, getting them exercising, like there is really rock solid evidence that people who exercise every day, they have a lower risk of developing depression. They have a lower risk of becoming anxious. If they are already depressed or anxious, exercise exercise is more effective than standard pharmacological treatment.
If they're already depressed,
if they're already depressed or anxious, they are better off getting a gym membership.
Although,
that is actually using
to be fair, somebody that's depressed or anxious mightn't be confident enough or motivated enough
100%.
to get a gym membership.
Yes, that is absolutely right.
So then what would a solution be? Go out walking, running, something like that maybe?
Yeah, definitely. So, and of course, one of the issues with depression is just that and there are different kind of, I suppose, types of depression, but many people who are depressed, like, it's very hard to activate. They have extreme lethargy. And so, you know, getting them hooked up with a walking group or get a personal trainer who will actually come to their house and knock on their door and, you know, come inside and basically get them out of bed.
That's what needs to,
it's often what needs to happen.
Yeah, because they've just got to get them over that initial hump.
Yeah, they've got to get over the hump. But if they have a human being who says, I care about you, I'm not letting you off the hook, I'm going to be a hard ass with you, but I'm doing it because I care about you. Then that really gets, if once you get people over the hump, they realize, oh heck, you know, I mean, let's face it, when you're unfit, exercise really sucks. Like the first time you do it, it hurts. It hurts when you're doing it. It hurts when you finish it. It sucks. Yeah. But if you can,
running's the worst exercise in the world. I tried it once. Oh my god.
but if you keep at it, it gets fun.
What about all the people in the world? And you know, I've been there myself. So and I know plenty of other people that've been in a position where, to some extent, you're able to hold down, a job and maybe even have a partner, have a family, and whatever. But you're still within yourself. You're still really isolated. You're still dealing with depression. But you're not really presenting it to the world. So you're in this sort of position where you need to get over the hump, but you can't. But you're not presenting that you have the hump.
And this is where I really draw on EFT and matrix.
Good.
That's where they come into their own. Because what you're looking at there is a person who has a lot of beliefs about themselves that are really, really undermining their capacity to change.
Yes, definitely.
So back to the worthiness issue, or just, I mean, if you've been told, as unfortunately many people were as kids, you're a loser, you're hopeless, you never make anything of your life.
It's a deep programming, a very hard one. Is it possible to work past it, to get past that program?
It is.
Yeah, and EFT can help with that.
EFT and matrix reimprinting in particular, especially all of that really, really deep childhood programming.
Yes.
I use matrix reimprinting. I lean on it so heavily for that.
That's not one that I've ever done. I've done a lot of the other things.
I call it EFT on steroids.
I'm curious to find out more about this now. This is interesting.
It's EFT sort of that's targeted specifically at memories, but particularly at learning, at the lessons. When I say lessons, I mean the false or limiting lessons that we learn. So, for example, a person who's been sexually abused, the lesson they learn from that is I'm broken.
Right.
There was something wrong with me which made my abuser abuse me. That's what they learned from that. And abusers are pretty good at drumming that message into them, by the way. That's part of the modus operandi of an abuser.
That's true.
So that's a learning that really needs to be kind of, you got to get into that brain with matrix reimprinting and dig that learning out, unlearn it, and then put in the new message, which is you're fine. Your abuser was really messed up.
Definitely. And I'm hearing also when you're saying that, I'm hearing some of the teachings of Byron Katie when she teaches. Who would you be without the story?
Oh,
it's so powerful, isn't it? Just the 4 questions. So you're familiar with.
I totally am.
And this is something that I've spoken about a lot in my live streams and that. If you've never come across Byron Katie's work, what I love about it personally is that you can go there, you can do the questions for free. You can go to the work of Byron Katie, to the website. You can do the questions for free. You can go to YouTube and listen to hundreds of hours of Byron Katie with clients. And you can see practical real-world examples of a person that was believing a certain story about themselves, and within 15, 20 minutes, that story is shifted in their mind. Because Katie has just challenged the way that they were thinking in a way that they can
in a beautiful,
loving way. Has challenged it, and then suddenly. And the reason why I know this is because I've done this with a life coach. I've done the work, so I know how powerful it is. And suddenly you're like, I never thought that before. There's that awakening. I
hear that all the time. Isn't it doing EFT? Like people just go.
It's like, bang, I just opened up to a reality, a realization that I didn't allow myself to think previously.
My whole life I've been in a cage and I didn't even see the bars. And now someone's just handed me a key. I've walked out and gone, heck, is that the world?
But you know what's even more powerful? The person that handed you the key was actually yourself.
Yeah.
You gave yourself permission to open the cage.
That's it.
How powerful is that?
Yeah,
when we realise we put ourselves in that cage with our own thoughts.
Yeah. And since
that just blows my mind.
We make everything in life up. We make it all up.
We do.
Right?
We do.
So why not make something up that's a lot more life-affirming?
That serves us in a positive, healthy, life-affirming way. These are powerful things. I love that we've actually touched on this, even though we've got to almost the end of the hour.
Oh dear. Okay. Have we answered questions? Does anyone else have a question? Hop in now.
We have answered questions.
All right.
But I love that we've got to that, because that is, for me personally in my journey, the most powerful thing to learn was that where I'm at is because of the way that I was thinking and feeling and responding to the events that happened in my life.
Yes.
So I created where I am at. Yes. So I can go, hey, I'm not happy with where I'm at.
And look, once again, that can be very confronting. And sometimes people will back away from that. They don't want to admit or accept that they made the whole thing up.
So so for some people it's not actually empowering. It's too challenging.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's what you said before. Like, who would you be without your story?
Yeah.
Right? So for some people, they go, well, like, I've lived my whole life in this cage. I'm actually quite scared to go outside it.
Yes. Okay. This is my safety zone. I want to stay here.
Yeah.
This is what I'm familiar with. I'm not necessarily happy with it, but I have a degree of sort of comfort with it.
Comfort zone, isn't it? A comfort zone doesn't mean, oh look, there's a lovely easy chair here. It is a cage, but you know what's inside.
Do you feel we all do that to some degree?
I think we do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I see so much of it.
There's always areas of your life that where you kind of busted through and you go, oh, that's it. Like, I've got it. And then someone points out to you where you're still in a cage, you go, damn, how did that happen? After all this work. But I mean, I've accepted that now. Like, at 47, I realised I'm never going to be done.
Yeah.
Like,
yes. Yeah.
That's it. I'm never going to be done.
And that's the beauty of life, I think, when you're encouraged to keep learning and to keep growing.
And that's so that I mentioned before that I think one of the crucial, probably the most crucial element of what, or the crucial thing that allows this person to change and that person not to is beliefs. And that belief of that, like, seeing myself as a lifelong learner, someone who will never know everything, who will never have all the answers about myself or anything else.
That's good.
It's like when you embrace that, you go, cool, I'm free to make mistakes, I'm free to screw up, I'm free to learn, I'm free to change.
That's fantastic. I love that. One final comment there from Mike. Assuming you will share the website, it sounds interesting.
Oh, yes.
That's the Byron Katie website. We'll share that. And also Robyns, I've got it linked in the top of this live stream. I've got your Empower Total Health site linked there. You've got webinars coming up, which we didn't even mention. The next one coming up on Thursday, the 28th of March, is the health effects of electromagnetic fields.
Yes, I do these monthly deep dive webinars and also monthly Ask Robyn webinars. That's all part of my Empower Ed program.
Fantastic.
So we'll pop a link in there somewhere.
Yes, we can put that in there as well. So if people want to get in touch with you, best thing would be to go to your Empower Health.
Yeah, go to my website. It's empowertotalhealth.com.au. I've got heaps of good recipes, lots of articles.
Okay.
It's pretty big, this website.
So I'm going to start winding up, but I want to. What do you think of? I just want to ask you a final question. What do you think of the world now as far as vegan awareness and that? Because we didn't sort of embrace that side of it so much tonight. But what do you think about in 2019 the changes that you're seeing? You've been vegan 14 years. Just a couple of thoughts there.
It's extraordinary. Like the growth of veganism is extraordinary. Totally unanticipated by me. I expected to be in this tiny minority until I died, and now and now we're not the only gays in the village.
Not the only gay in the village. I think you got the accent pretty good.
Yeah, that wasn't bad. So no, it's fantastic. I'm really inspired by just how many young people are taking this on, and
it's amazing.
that's just awesome to see all the the millennials and the Gen Zs taking this on. Like really, for them it's as normal as like of course gay marriage is okay. So like whoever thought that wasn't okay? How weird is that, right?
There's been an amazing shift, and as you say, young people are just looking at things in a way that they're not as indoctrinated maybe or something, and I think social media has got a little part to play in that. It allows them to not be so controlled by mass media, and that it allows them to see things that they didn't see before, and even now, as we've seen, was it last Friday with the climate change, with all the kids coming out and saying, look, this is, we want to do something about the future of our world,
Yes, you 40, 50-year-old white men, like you're just messing it up big time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's
our planet that you're messing up.
And it's so obvious, when you look at it and you go, it's so obvious to people that don't want to do anything. So the kids are out there like, well, we do want to do something. So it's fantastic.
And by the way, we're going to be voting in a few years, so listen up.
So there's a big message there as well.
But I'm really inspired. Just to answer your question, I'm so inspired by the growth in this movement. I think it's fantastic that people can approach it from the ethical angle, the health angle, or the environmental angle, or the social justice angle. But no matter what angle you come at it from, it's kind of like all those spokes of the wheel, they meet in the middle. So I'm not one for saying you have to be a full tilt ethical vegan from the get-go. I think many people come to this because of their own personal health journey, but almost all of them end up opening up to the ethical dimensions of it. So I'm just happy to take people, like, come in through whatever door you want to.
And whatever door you want to come in through, Robyn's very happy to help you, and she's very helpful as well. Very happy to help you with your health, with your lifestyle. If there's issues that you want to talk to Robyn about, then contact her through her Facebook page, but I'll also put up her website as well.
Cool. Yep.
And I have had the most wonderful time talking with you tonight. I reckon we could have done another hour easily.
We better stop now.
We better stop.
You guys
now.
need to go to bed.
It's wonderful. It's really wonderful to hear from somebody that just has such a knowledge and is so effective in helping people. So thank you very, very much for coming.
Thank you for inviting me on.
And I would love to maybe at another stage in the future have you come back and talk about part two. We will do a part two that we don't bore you guys too much tonight. Thank you for everyone that's been watching. Thank you for your questions and that as well. And you can ask questions even after the live stream's finished. And also, we will have this episode up on my YouTube channel within 2 days. So let's have a look what's coming up as I wind up. Okay, so in 2 weeks' time for episode 6 on Tuesday the 2nd of April, that's just after April's Fool's Day, isn't it? I've got Chelsea from Well and Happy Plant-Based Catering, which is apparently Gold Coast's only plant-based catering. I think that's right. So Chelsea will be joining me then. So I look forward to you joining us then as well. So thank you guys for watching. Remember to live vegan, get it in the camera here, live vegan and save lives. Oh, look at that. Trained it well. Live vegan and save lives. Have a great week, and I'll speak to you soon.
Bye, everybody.
Good night.